Hi, have you been applying for advertised jobs but just don't seem to be getting anywhere? Are you wondering why some people seem to know where all the juicy opportunities are? Do you know that the vast majority of jobs are just not open to the general public? Does that sound unfair to you? Well, we can uncover these hidden jobs so long as we know where they are and how we can attract these. And we'll be talking about this in the next 2 hours, coming right up. Hello. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Just a technology check right now. Can you all hear me? If you can hear me, please type into the chat box. Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yuan. I'll be your facilitator for today. All right. So before we go on to anything else, I just wanted to welcome all of you. I see quite a few familiar faces and familiar names rather. Okay, so welcome back. Today is actually a very special day. Okay, it's a very special day because of two reasons. Obviously, the first one is because we have a very unique set of numbers for today, right? So for those of you who are planning to get married, or for those of you who know people who are going to get married, congratulations. I hope you live a long and fruitful life. Now, the other reason that this is a special day is because, you are here today for this very important topic. Okay. Now, I've been delivering workshops like this for WSG for almost over 5 years, actually. And the most common, in fact, there are two very common topics I kept getting requests to do. Number one is career switching, which I did last month. And then this one, which is about hidden job opportunities. What are the hidden job markets? Okay, how do we identify and how do we attract hidden opportunities? Now, as far as I'm concerned, no matter what stage of the job search you're in, or even if you are not looking for a job at the moment, knowing where the hidden opportunities are is really the foundation of everything you need to do with regards to your career. Okay, so maybe towards the end of the session, you will then realize why I say this. All right. So for those of you who are first time coming to me, all right. Again, a brief introduction for myself. I think apart from the short little bio that you've seen, okay, I am a practicing career coach. I've had my own business, okay, and I've been doing this job or this role of career coaching for almost over 6 years now. And I've been doing workshops like this for WSG as well as for other agencies and companies as well, and on all career related topics. Okay, now we have 2 hours or just over 2 hours together today. We have a lot to cover. Okay, and typically a topic like this, I used to do it for a full day, but now we're going to truncate it into about 2 hours. So I'm going to summarize quite a few things. Okay, if we have a chance, I'll go into detail for some of the others. Okay, but towards the end, I'm going to give you an opportunity to follow up with me about what are the further questions you may have. Is that all right? Okay. Okay, good. Now, before we begin, I think you know a bit about myself. What I'd like to do now is basically conduct a really short poll amongst you guys as to what stage of career you are in right now. So let me launch this poll so that I can get a feel of what stage you are in right now. Okay, the poll is up now. So can you please help me fill this up? Okay, essentially it's about telling me about what stage you are in, whether you're newly graduated, how long ago you lose your job, what sort of age group you are in and all that. So that I get a feel, then I can see if I can tailor the content as we go along for today. Okay, thank you so much. We have about 160 people here for this session. Actually over 350 was registered. So 160 probably, just under 50%. So hopefully the rest will come in. Okay, so almost 80% have filled up. Very good. Oh, by the way, forgive me if I keep looking to the left because most of the stuff that either your chat box and all that is all on the left side. So forgive me if I keep looking to the left, but whatever it is, I'll try and keep my eyes on you. All right, so let's do another 15 seconds or so. 86% have participated in the poll. Okay, so let me just do this. If you are still intending to fill up, just another 10 seconds or so before I close the poll, and then I'm going to share the results. Okay. Oh, all right, so it looks like people have stopped doing the poll. Oh, okay, some more coming in. Some more coming in. All right, so I'll stop at about 90% just in case. All right. Okay, I guess it's stopped now. So let me end the poll and then let's share the results. Okay, you can see the results on the screen. So, okay, most of you are over 46 years old, all right? And quite a few of you, have not been working within the last 12 months. And many of you, in fact, about 45% of you are considering career change. Okay, good. So very, very useful information for me. Thank you so much for sharing. And the reason why I wanted to do this is because, whatever we're going through over the next couple of hours, considering that many of you are considering a career change, I think what I'm going to share with you is actually very, very pertinent and important. Okay, thank you. Now, let's talk about this notion of searching for a job. Okay, now there's so many ways that we go about looking for a job, right? Those of you who are actively searching. Now, what I'd like you to tell me is that in the chat box, what are the most common ways that you are looking for a job right now? Okay, or have looked for, what are the most common job search strategies you have used? Can you type it into the chat box so I get a feel of where you are as well? Okay, quite a few are on the websites advertised, so you can see the chat box here. LinkedIn, I see quite a few LinkedIn as well. Job portals, online searches, websites, okay, or portals, a lot of portals, a lot of job search. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think very, very important. Okay, My Careers Future, Eve. Okay, recruitment agency. Thank you. My Careers Future. Okay, good. Networking. I saw that one that came out to me. Okay, mix of job portals, friends, networking. All right, excellent. Thank you so much. Now, those of you who are solely relying on going through the advertised jobs, okay, through the job portals, you're actually missing out on a lot of things, okay? And then especially those of you who are just applying, all right, not using customized resumes and you're applying mass, okay? Like for example, every morning you wake up and then you go to the portals, the sites, and then you see something you like, you click, and then you send in, all right? You are actually doing something which is outdated already, all right? Now, I don't mean for this to be facetious, okay? CRAP is an acronym for that technique that I just described, all right? Essentially, you're clicking, then reviewing the job, you're applying, then you're praying for a response to come back to you. Okay, does that sound familiar to a lot of people? Okay, so now, again, I like to say this, all right, if you are doing this, first of all, sole reliance on advertised jobs is something that you shouldn't be doing much. Okay, you need to complement your job search in a variety of ways. Okay, now especially so if you are doing a career switch, or if you are someone who is slightly late in your career stage, or someone who is actually coming back to work after a long absence. Okay, solely applying for jobs through advertised portals will put you at a very big disadvantage. Okay, very, very big disadvantage. Now, why do we say this? Now, I mean, this picture of an iceberg, I think you should be very familiar. What is it trying to represent, right? So in this instance, advertised jobs are just the tip of the iceberg. Can you guess how much, what is the percentage of jobs that are not advertised, those that are below the iceberg? Can you type into the chat box and let me know what do you think is the percentage of jobs that are actually not advertised in the portals? Anyone? 80%, 40%, 80%, right? Okay, so very high percentage, okay, very high percentage. We're talking about 60 to 80% of jobs are confidential in nature, okay, or they are not in the public domain. Not in the public domain means that maybe those places that are like Job Street or My Careers Future, they don't put it there, but they may put it in their own corporate website, okay? But you know, so unless you know where it is, or unless you know that company, right, you won't know that they are looking for someone, right? So if that is the case, if we are saying that most of the jobs are not advertised, right? Most of us don't know where they are. They don't know where to. So we need to find a way to locate them, right or not? Right? So we need to be able to see, okay, those are the jobs. Then how do we attract or how do we reach out to those opportunities? Okay, so this is one of the things I'm going to cover today. How are we going to develop effective activities to attract hidden opportunities in the form of being a magnet, okay, and also how we reach out to those opportunities itself. Okay, that's what we're going to cover today. Now, we also need to find out which company that suits us best, right now, okay? So we need to know what are the companies, we need to know about ourselves, okay, what we are good at. So this is another thing that we're going to cover today as well. We have to identify our key USP. USP is unique selling proposition, and what our value add is to better position ourselves for the target career and organization. Okay, so that's another learning takeaway that we are going to try and achieve at the end of these 2 hours plus. Okay, now, then the other thing, before even we do this, unique selling point is, USP is unique selling point. Okay, now, but then before we all do all this, okay, we need to know what's happening out there in the marketplace, right? What is a hiring trend? So we need to be able to interpret how current trends affect the way we find jobs. Okay, so that is another learning takeaway that we're going to address for today. Is that all right? Okay, now Joey asked me a question just now, okay, regarding whether this session is recorded or not. So Joey, if you stay on to the end of today, all right, I'm going to give you an idea of how you can access information regarding this workshop. So if you can, please stay on for that. Okay, now, given all the learning takeaways, so we've got a lot to cover. Huh? So this is the thing that we're going to cover for today. All right, so there's certain topics here, the hiring trends, how do we position ourselves, and how do we then reach out to our target groups, okay, target companies. And this is going to be then summarized towards the end. Now, like I mentioned earlier, all right, towards the end, at the summary point, I'm going to provide you with some bonus tips as to how you can actually follow on from today's session, okay, as well as some hiring tips as well, for those of you who are actively searching for something that's not advertised. Okay, now, given that we only have 2 hours, okay, so as far as breaks are concerned, I don't think we can have too many. So what I'm trying to do is I'm going to sort of give you a break halfway through the session, all right? But it's not going to be very long, probably about 5 minutes or so, just to give you a stretch break or so, okay? Now, the other thing is also, you have probably noticed by now that I have actually put all of you on mute, okay? From past experiences, especially when we have a large crowd like this, I think now we are around almost 200 already, okay? there could be distracting noise in the background. Somebody may accidentally switch on their mic without knowing. So I put it all on mute so that we are not distracted. However, if you want to ask questions, please do type it into the chat box. Okay, I occasionally will glance to the chat box as to whether there are any things that's coming up. But at the same time, when you're writing your question, please put the capital letter Q at the front here, at the front of the question, so that I can very quickly scan and see whether those are questions or they are just a general comment. Is that all right? Okay. Is that okay for today, the way we're going to do it today? Can you type into the chat box if that's okay for you all? All right. Excellent. Thank you so much. Okay. No, like I said, the layout is, for me, I'm looking at you right now, right? The screen is in front of me, but not a lot of your chat box and your comments will be on the left side. So occasionally I will glance to the left side as well. Okay. All right. Good. So let's start with the first one, which is hiring trends. All right. So that's what we're going to cover in this session. We're going to interpret how current hiring trends affect the way we find jobs. Okay, this forms the basis of our behavior during the job search process, and very, very important. So please take note of this. Okay, so first, really, at the end of the day, we need to know how employers think. And by knowing how employers think, in other words, we need to put ourselves from the employer's point of view first. Once we understand that point of view, then we are in a better position to actually know what we need to do in order to convince them to hire us. Does that make sense? Right? So I think one of the biggest drawback that many job seekers have, or biggest challenge, is that they are so focused on presenting yourself and showing off your skills, all right? They lose sight of what are the priorities of the employer or the hiring manager. Okay, so I want you to, this particular portion is really to allow you to flip your perception to the other side so that you get their point of view, so that it's much, much easier for you to then know, oh, yes, that's the way he's thinking. Maybe that's how I should then do what I need to do. Okay, so that's what we're going to do today. All right. So the first things first, I think this one's a very easy point, to think as a job seeker now. Okay, think as a job seeker. Okay, you are looking for jobs. Okay, now, remember I talked about all the various ways to find a job, all right? So these are the various possibilities. These are different channels to find jobs, right? Headhunter, through the internal transfer, through referrals, through advertised job portals, through your own network. Now, you as a job seeker, what is your most preferred way of finding job? And what is your least preferred way of finding job? Okay, there's A, B, C, D, E. Can you type into the chat box, what is your most preferred way and what is your least preferred way, using the alphabets that's in front of each channel? Can I ask you all to try that and tell me that? Okay, so put down E, A. Okay, so I think let me put out the words again. Okay, C, D, most is A, least is C, most preferred A. Okay, interesting. There are a few C's there as well. D and E, own network, most preferred is C. Okay, excellent, excellent. C is most preferred. Okay, I think this corresponds to the previous question I asked when I asked you, what are the types of job search strategies you have done so far. Okay, so I think this is actually quite a good reflection. Okay, very good. Thank you for sharing that perspective. Okay, now something new for you. Something new for you. Okay, I want you to think from the point of view of a hiring manager. If you are a hiring manager or recruiter, what is your most preferred way of looking for a candidate or identifying a candidate? Okay, many people say B, E and A, C, D, E, a lot of E's, okay, D's and E's. Yeah, mostly E's, okay? Very good. Thank you so much. Now, thank you for doing this exercise, because this is your first step in getting you to think from the other point of view, from the hiring manager's point of view. And essentially, if you look at it, in most cases, what the hiring manager prefers, okay, is actually quite different from the way we as job seekers prefer to look at things. Right now. All right. So if you look at it, the hiring managers, all right, the arrow points up to the degree of preference. So internal transfer is actually the most preferred way from a hiring manager's point of view. Whereas in most cases for job seekers, most like many of you have mentioned, you prefer actually just to go through advertised jobs. Okay, because for a variety of reasons, because it's the easiest way to do it, right? So you can see the difference here. Okay, you can see the difference here in terms of what the employer preferring internal transfers as a first priority, all right, and then advertise as the last priority, okay, and then whereas the job seeker is actually the other way around. Okay, yeah, I think Christina says internal because it's the cheapest and all that. Yeah, but there is also another reason why there is this difference. Okay, now if you look at it, it's actually a numbers game. It's a numbers game. Okay, now if you're applying for advertised jobs, typically there's a few hundred that comes in. So if you are a hiring manager, okay, when you go to the stage of actually advertising for a job, you get lots of people applying already. On the one hand, it's good. On the one hand, it's good, right now, because you get more choices. But you think about it, the only reason most hiring managers go to the advertised route is simply because they cannot find anybody in the other channels, right? They cannot find someone internal. They cannot get somebody who has good referral to candidate to them and all that. So they got no choice. So they have to advertise. But because they are faced with so many applications, few hundred, then what happens? What happens? They would go through a few things, right? They will cut off very quickly. They will cut off very quickly. Okay. Oh, there's a comment that says that the slides are not clear. Are the slides clear for you all? I just want to make sure that everybody can see. Yes, okay, most of the comments are there. So maybe Joey, I had this same in the last week as well. The reason why it wasn't clear for that person was because maybe the Wi-Fi signal was weak. Okay. Most cases is clear. Okay, so I think maybe because the Wi-Fi signal is weak, but essentially, you know, it should be quite clear because I have a test case here on Wi-Fi on my side. Is okay. All right. Okay. So when you go to advertised job, many people apply. Okay. But for job seekers, it is very easy because you click and then you you review and then you click. You just review and click, and that's all very easy for you. But for the hiring manager, they get so many. And then sometimes it's like, wow, I just have to make sure I do something to cut down the numbers, make my job easier. Okay, so as you can see here, all right, as you go down to the basement of the pyramid, it's a numbers game. All right, so as far as hiring managers are concerned, they want to work with fewer people. Okay, therefore they prefer internal recommendations or candidates because it's only one person involved. If there are referrals or through the networks, the numbers are also still manageable. Okay, so that's the comment here. Okay, RJ has a question. Sometimes there's a policy to advertise job in open market before filling, both internal policy and government. Do you think this could change things? Now, there is a policy that whoever is going to advertise, right? Okay, as what RJ mentioned, right? If it's a local job, right? As far as if I can remember correctly, they need to put it through the My Careers Future portal. Okay, but that is only if they advertise. Okay, so that is a stage that means they already decided they have to advertise already. What I'm talking about is, can we actually get those opportunities even before they go to the advertised stage? That is the trick that we need to understand here. Okay, all right. So now if you look at this scenario, the triangles are inverted, right? Okay, which then tells us one very important factor you need to consider. Okay, that by nature, employers or hiring managers are risk averse. They don't want to take risks. They want to hire the best person they can find. Okay, and especially during times like now, where it's a pandemic and all, they luckily don't want to take risks. Okay, so we have to understand this concept from the employer's point of view. They don't want to take risks with potential candidates or potential person to fill up that role. Right? So they are risk averse. So what does this mean to you as a job seeker? What does this mean to you as a job seeker? Essentially, right now, you have to bridge the gap. Okay, there are people who want to hire. There are people who want to look for a job. Okay, then you have to convince them that you are the right person. You are the right person to take that job. All right. So if that is the thing at the back of your mind right now, then let me ask you this. Given all those scenarios that I've just mentioned, okay, employers are risk adverse, they prefer to find, manage a lower number of candidates. What do job seekers then need to do? What do job seekers then need to do? Can you type into the chat box? What do you think then, given that information I just shared with you, what do you think you need to do as a job seeker? Type into the chat box and let me know. Targeted network. Okay, you get referrals, internal networking, referrals, get referred. Yeah, a lot of you say get referred, make yourself known. Okay, right. I think you're on the right track. You make friends with HR. Yep, I think HR people, okay, very important. Build your connections, build your brand. Wow, very good. So essentially, really, I think you are on the right track here. Essentially, you can put it into 4 key points. Okay, you have to be very targeted and customized in your approach. No longer relevant is the mass approach, where you use one CV, for example, to blast out to every single, using the same CV to blast out to every single job on the market. Okay. Then you also have to be clear, how are you value adding? How are you helping? How can you help the potential company? All right. Many of you have mentioned also building relationships, networking, very important. And then the last point here is also equally important. You have to be relevant to the job that you are seeking. Okay, so given the current scenario, given the situation that you see, those are the things that you have to get into your head, that that's something that you need to do. Okay, there's a question from Jeff. If you mentioned earlier that the hirer don't want to take risks now, then how can we as a job switcher get a chance to even get the interview? Thank you, Jeff. Stay tuned for a solution to this, okay? I'm going to talk about this in a little while, but I think that's a very important factor, right? Looking for hidden opportunities is actually one of the primary weapons for a career switcher, okay? I'll allude to that in a little while. So hold your horses, Jeff, okay? All right, so now the thing here is this, okay? When we are going out looking for jobs, when we're going out approaching companies or hiring managers, okay, we have to understand this thing here, okay? Employers are risk averse. So at the end of the day, it is not about you, no? It is not about you, okay? What is it about? It is about how you can help them, okay? So please, right, if you are not comfortable or familiar with this concept, I suggest you think about it in this way, because at the end of the day, whatever skills you have, which I'll reinforce later on, whatever skills you have and all that, if you don't know how it applies to help the company, right, then, if it's no use. So you have to understand whatever strengths and skills you have, how is it that you can use those things to help the employer or the potential employer. Okay, another question from LH. What is a strategy to go direct to employer on potential upcoming openings? Okay, I'm going to deal with this in the last portion itself. Okay, so LH, good question again, anticipating the answer later on. Okay, so if I answer everything now, then at the end, nothing to say already. But sorry, I'm kidding. But actually, it all builds up and all leads up to that. Okay, so this portion, I really need you all to understand this. Because at the end of the day, if you understand the current hiring trends, if you understand where the employer, the potential hiring managers, how they're thinking, what's their point of view, then it's actually it puts you in a much better position to go out. Okay, so this is the point I'm trying to get at for this particular portion. Is that all right? Okay, so this is what's happening now in the current hiring trends. Okay, so that's the first portion itself. Okay, so now let's talk about knowing yourself. And really the question we should be asking ourselves, asking ourselves is this: what is the best career for me? What is the best career for me? Okay, and really in order to know this, right, we have to go through this process of knowing what our unique selling proposition is, our USP. How do we add value? Okay, so that we can better position ourselves for that target career and organization. Okay, so this is the gist of this next section that I'm going to talk about. All right, now, how to identify what's the best career for me? Let me ask you all, what do you think are the things you need to know in order to know what's your best career or best type of job? Can you type into the chat box? What do you think are the things you need to know to try and find out, hey, is that the right career or job for me? Can you all type into the chat box and let me get a feel of your understanding of this? Your strengths and weaknesses, interests and skills, personality and strengths. Yeah, I think many of you, those who mentioned this, right, you probably have gone through some coaching before already on that work. Okay, very good. Strengths, okay, matching skill sets. I think, you know, at the end of the day, all right, these are the things, as a career coach, these are the things that we call VIPS, value, interest, strengths, and personality or preferences. Okay, so so really, you know, we have to look at this, but at the end of the day, if you look at it, if you distill it all down to the bare facts, and this is my approach basically, because I want to make it as simple as possible for all of you. Yes, we can go through the process of looking for goals, values, interests, skills, and all. But at the end of the day, it really is all about what matters to you, right now. Okay, what matters to you. Okay, so I'm going to sort of teach you a very simple way to help you very quickly distill what this is. Okay, and this is an exercise which I call the meaningful experience exercise. Okay, now this is the part where maybe you want to take a piece of paper, right, or you take a screenshot later on, so that, you know, I'm not asking you to do this exercise now because we don't have the time. Normally, when I do this workshop on a full day, I will break you all into pairs and then we will talk about it. But now, since it's only 2 hours, right? So I'll just describe this exercise, but then you go back and do it as part of your homework. Okay, so the meaningful experiences is actually very simple, right? So you just take a piece of paper, all right? And then you draw 4 columns, as you see here. Okay, let me just open it big so that you can see clearer. Okay, so there are 4 columns. So the first column is your job title of current or past jobs that you have done. All right. Then the second column would be the activities that you have done in that role or that job. The last 2 columns are very, very important. Okay, talking about what you like and what you dislike about the job. Okay, so in other words, I go through again, listing down typical jobs that you have done, currently doing, or have done. Okay, describing what the activities are, and then really going in I say a lot of detail what you like and what you didn't like about those jobs itself. Okay, so far okay? All right, so now the trick here is this. When we are doing this exercise, the best is to have at least 3 examples so that you can detect a trend of what you like and what you didn't like, right? Because the idea here is to spot patterns. Okay, now and the one very good way of doing this is that you do it with someone you trust, someone who knows you. Okay, then you describe the results to them. And sometimes having a third party listening to what you say they can tell you what are the patterns, what are the trends that have come up that they see, right? Especially if you yourself are not able to see it. So the key idea here is this: you need to understand what you liked about your past jobs and what you didn't like about your past jobs. Okay, so summary for this particular exercise, very simple. Okay, this is a very quick and easy way to help you identify what type of job, the characteristic of job or career that suits you best based on what you have gone through. Now, for those of you who have maybe lesser work experience, you may be asking yourself, hey, actually, I don't have enough work experience. How do I then do this? Well, I've conducted this exercise with university students who haven't graduated yet, okay? And it's still worthwhile. Why? Instead of looking at full-time jobs, for example, they may put down activities in maybe their CCA or within the school or university, or maybe outside voluntary duties. Okay, then they put down and then describe the nature. From there, they understand the nature of the type of jobs that they like, the type of activities they like. Then that gives them an idea, okay, of some of the things that they will look for in their next step, in their next career. Okay, so this particular exercise will apply, right, not only to seasoned professionals like many of you, but also even to people who have just graduated as well. Okay, so give it a try. Okay, give it a try. Okay, so any questions regarding this particular exercise? Any questions regarding this particular exercise? Okay, Lily Win said that you don't have a dislike for any job because you're very tolerant and a can-do person. I think Lily Win, think about it more carefully. Okay, there's always bound to be something that we don't like. All right, in your case, maybe it's very little, but then there must be something that you like about the job. So again, that forms part of your preference. Okay, so if you say that, oh, there's not too many things I dislike, then talk about the things that you like about your job, right? So that then you get a feel of what are the things that you can look for in your next job or next career. Okay, Hilda says, can you put politicking as dislike? Yeah, you can do that as well. Okay. There's another question here. Is it particular job activities or can be part of thereof? Well, whatever you are doing inside that job, okay, that can be, as long as it's within that job itself, you can describe whether you like or don't like about it. Okay. Well, Zihao says, I think it's much more what is more tolerable or intolerable for feeling. Yes, you can phrase it that way. You can phrase it that way, so long as you can put in the plus and the minus of those things that you have done or been doing, so that you get a feel of, hey, do I want to repeat that for my next job or my next career? Okay, let me see what else is there. By the way, please, if you're asking questions, please put a capital Q there so that I know there's a question. Okay. Okay, there's one question from Samuel. What do you put in when you're about to work for the first time? Well, Samuel, like I mentioned earlier, think about maybe activities that are non-work related, like things that you do in your spare time, activities, what do you like and dislike? I mean, if you look at it, at the end of the day, what are you trying to achieve from this exercise? Is to try and give you an idea very, very quickly and easily. What are the things that you potentially like to do and what are the things that you don't like to do? Then that gives you an idea of your next job and your next career. That is the basis of this. Okay. Okay, another question, how to add dislike, responsibility or work? Laura, I think got to be much more specific than that. Okay, responsibility in what area? Okay, you have to be very specific about this. Huh? Okay, government, non-government jobs, Chris, I think that is not the intention of doing this exercise as a comparison. It is more about the nature of the work rather than whether it's government or non-government related. Okay. Liu Wailong says, can the Holland test help? Yes, it can. Okay, that's another way of doing. If you have already done the Holland RISAC test, okay, some of you may have done that already, you can use that. But if you haven't, or you want to find an easier way a very quick way of doing this, then this particular framework can also help. Okay. All right. Good. So if no questions, then let me follow on. So you have a sample of activities, all right, sample of a simple way of finding out what you like and dislike, which can help you decide or frame what your next job or career could be. So now the next thing here is this, skills. Let's talk about skills. We all have skills, right? So can you type into the chat box, what is your top skill, or what is the skill that you're most proud of for a moment? You can type into the chat box. What is a skill that you're most proud of? Nobody has skills that they're proud of? Critical analysis, thinking, planning, teamwork, collaboration, communication, marketing, analytical, like art direction, people skills, connect with people, thick face, teamwork, adaptive. Very good. I mean, it's clear right now to me that you all have got a good idea of what your skills are, which is great. I see healthcare management, I see customer service. Great. So the thing here is this. Remember I told you earlier on, all right? It is not about you, it's about how you can help the other party. Okay? So let's think about this now. What are skills best used for? What are skills best used for? What do you guys think? You have skills like time management, healthcare. So what? How is it going to help the other party? All right. Many of you put down solve problems, create value, earn money. Yeah. Okay. So what I want you to think now here is this. Skills is a bridge between a problem and a solution. Okay. Skills is a bridge between problem and solutions. So what I'm trying to get you to think beyond your own skills now is to understand this, what problems you solve. Okay, remember I said that before, it's not about you, what you have, it's about how you use what you have to help others. Okay, so for those of you who have got very good skills, which I saw in the chat box, okay, I need you to think the next step already. How do you use your skills to help the other party? Okay, so again, this phrase, I'm going to keep coming back to this until it becomes second nature to you. Employers are risk averse. We've already explained that. We've already gone through that. So hopefully you understand. So if they are risk averse, then obviously you want to be an asset right now. You want to be an asset. You don't want to be a risk. Okay. So what I'm trying to put you to position yourself as an asset is you got to be a problem solver. You have to be someone who can solve the employer's problem. Let us sink in for a while. Okay, maybe it's new to you guys, maybe it's not new, but I just want to make sure that you understand this concept, because this becomes the foundation of how you approach the market, how you approach the hidden market especially. Okay, be a problem solver so that you can become an asset, not a risk. All right, so that's the thing here. Then the question you may ask yourself is, well, then how do I then create the impression that, you know, I'm an asset? How do I then tell people what problems I solve? Okay, so for those of you who have been to my past classes, when maybe this is something familiar to you, but I'm just going to highlight this particular framework for people who have not been to my classes before. I'm going to share with you, okay, a very simple way of getting yourself to think how you can solve problems, okay, by crafting problem-solving statements. Okay, how do we do this? I'm going to show you some examples first before I show you the template. Okay, right. So essentially, you want to create statements, problem-solving statements, right? So I've divided into two columns here. These are examples of actually problem-solving statements that my clients have come up with. So I'm going to share these examples with you. Okay, So problems I solve, how do I do it? One example, maybe I just flash this full screen so that you all can see better. I will solve your high staff turnover issue. Wow, that's a big problem, right? How do I do this? I have extensive people management experience and a successful track record of building effective teams, right? Okay, next example. Another problem. I will help you expand your brand presence internationally with a lower marketing budget. Okay, I need that problem to be solved. Then how do you do it? In my previous roles, I leveraged on non-traditional marketing strategies which had greater ROIs and impactful results. Okay. I will increase the quality of your, in this case, student intake, or it could be your client base. All right. So how do we do this? In my past roles, I moved the customer base to a higher level by recrafting outreach messages and targeting the right segments. Okay. So these are just examples. Okay, these are just examples. All right. Okay, there's a question from Patrick, just to check. I'm not going to, okay, ask whether I'm going to give you the slides. My short answer to this is no, Patrick, I cannot give you the slide, but I will show you another way towards the end of today's session to get the same information. Okay, so stay tuned for this. Now, these are statements that are crafted using a particular template that I'm going to share with you now. Okay, that I'm going to share with you now. Okay, so this is the template. Very simple template. Okay, so it helps you put together the contents of what are the problems you solve. So firstly, you identify your skills, what skills you have, which many of you have already put down. Okay, so let's go through an example. Let's go through an example. Okay, some of you have put this as a skill already. People and team management. People and team management. All right, so those of you who have this skill, people and team management, what is the problem you can solve? What is the problem you can solve? When you type into the chat box, if you have people and team management skills, what is the problem you can solve? Can you type it into the chat box? Conflict resolution, staff development, retention, high turnover. High turnover is an issue, right? Staff development is a term, but what is the issue? Poor teamwork is an issue, is a problem. Anything else? Think about problems. Okay, staff morale, low morale. Okay, that's low morale is an issue. Okay, any others? Okay, so what I'm trying to get at here is that you need to understand the problem. Okay, so one example of a problem here could be, high staff turnover. High staff turnover. Okay, that is a problem, right? That's a problem for the company because staff keep quitting on them. Now then the question you have to ask yourself, and you have to convince the hiring manager, you have that skill, you know that is the problem, then how do you use your skill to help that problem? What do you guys think? If you have a company that has got high staff turnover, how do you solve that problem for them? How do you solve that problem for them? What do you guys think? Communication and training, Pauline says, better engagement, participate in problem, find out why they're leaving. Okay, that could be part of the way. Motivation, yeah. Okay, so think about this. So first step, you find out what your skill is. Okay, second step, you find out what is the problem faced by that company. Then you bring the two together, right, to try and use your skills to solve the problem. Okay, so in this case, you see here, the way the person could do, because he or she has got people and team management skill, is by building effective team environment, focusing on integrating individual member strengths in a motivated direction. Okay, I hope you see the flow here, because once you understand this, it's actually much easier for you to craft those problem statements that I just mentioned. All right. So why don't we do this little exercise for yourself? okay, right now. Just try it out for the next 5 minutes. I give you 5 minutes. Just craft down. Just follow this flow here, okay? What are your skills? You just identify one skill, then just identify what is a problem you can solve with that skill and how do you solve it, okay? Just give it a try so that I want to be sure that you get a hang of it before we move on. All right, because I think this is important. So let's come back and discuss this after 5 minutes. You give it a try. All right, give it a try. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully you had a chance to try out this problem solving statement, crafting a problem solving statement. I see some examples in the chat box, so let me just take a look at that. So, all right, so let me see here. Okay, Desmond, I think has a good one. Delivery issues which impacts, the problem is delivery issues which impact revenue and resources extended, lost confidence, etc. How you solve it, investigate and determine actions needed to resolve the delivery issue. Okay, can be. I think it would be helpful. You can be a bit more detailed about that. Okay, this one from Lily Win, can I do the reverse, identify a situation when I give a solution and a problem, then identify my skills as I may not know I have a particular skills as can do a person. Okay. Well, Lily, at the end of the day, the objective of this exercise is to be able to craft a statement to tell the other party how you can use your skill to solve the problem. Okay, so if you feel more comfortable doing it like what you have just done, and as long as at the end result is that you are still able to tell the other party what you can do and how you help them, that is the main objective. Okay. Okay. Review the unhappy job backlog situation and possibility of streamlining processes. Okay, again, probably a little bit more detail, a little more information will be helpful. Okay, Chris, what do you say when it's a coding position? Well, you have to do your research and find out, what are the typical issues faced by that company in that role. Okay, what is a coder supposed to do? What is he going to do? Is he supposed to how should I put it, develop a lot of software within a particular time frame? Is there an issue regards project management? Okay, all those things you have to understand that, then you can see how you can help. Okay, Hilda says identify key issues and gaps in financial due diligence findings and providing adjusted financial conditions of target companies. Okay, so again here, Hilda, I think it's good that you know how to do it. But the question I think is perhaps you can be a little bit more explicit as to what is the problem. I think what you have described here is how you're going to solve it, but what is the problem? Okay. Okay. Okay, so here, Zihao says the problem here is deliverymen have trouble finding shops to pick up the food item. Okay, how you solve it, experimental with improvised scripts, accessory help. Yep, okay, on the right track. So you identify the problem, then you tell the person how you would solve it. Okay. Okay. So Claudine says, my skills, relationship building. Okay, the problem is low sales. So here, how you do it, effective strategies on how to engage clients, right? Yep. Right, very good. Okay. Okay, so Laura asks, how can a person who is reserved but very you are able to do the job assignment, how to show proof? Well, I think this is something that is at the end of the day, it's not about whether you are reserved or not. Okay, Laura, I think it's about you have to be sitting in front of the person and telling that person what you can do. So, it's just about what you can do, what you can help them. Okay, even a reserved person should be able to say that. Okay, so I think just give it a try. Try and craft that statement that in that table that I just mentioned. Okay. Okay, skill, empathic problem, misunderstanding, miscommunication between people, how you solve it by being the middleman. Okay, fair enough, Clarice. Okay, Desmond has got a point there. Yeah. Okay, Daisy, analytical skills, problem, customers not returning. So how you do it, you analyze customer engagement. Yeah, good. Okay, very good. I think we are on the right track here. Okay, so I think, so hopefully you're after today's session, go and spend some time, craft probably at least 2 to 3 problems that you solve, whether you use the same skill or whether you use different skills to solve those problems. I leave it up to you. Okay, so try and go through the exercise so that you're comfortable and confident in actually stating how you solve the problem. Okay, good. So let's move on. All right. So over the last few slides, over the last few minutes, essentially we've discussed this point. What matters to you? Okay, the exercise about meaningful skills. All right. Then we talked a little bit about skills, and the notion here is to really understand The skills are only useful if you can use it to solve problems. So please remember this point. So those of you who are so fixated with your skills, you say, oh, I got this, I'm qualified in this, I'm qualified in this, I have certificate in this. That's only half the story. Okay, so please understand that no matter what skills you have, they would be useless if you cannot use those skills to solve problems for the other party. Okay, so please understand this. All right, so next step here now is this. You have more or less a feel of what you can do, what problems you can solve. Then the question now here is, how do you then match up with the companies? This is where you start doing legwork. So this is where you have to identify companies that are relevant to you. Relevant means those that you want to work for and those that have the skills that is relevant to them. Okay, then the question is, how do we do this? How do we do this? Okay, so I want to introduce you to this concept of creating a bucket list. A bucket list. Now, those of you who are not familiar with a bucket list, I think essentially it's actually quite a simple concept. Okay, so it is about basically putting together things that we want to do, places we want to visit, people we want to meet. Okay, so I put down the examples down there, you know, a bucket list of people you want to meet, maybe a bucket list of places we want to visit, okay, or cars that we want to buy, right, or houses you want to have, or where we want to live. So that's a concept of a bucket list. Okay, so as far as a company is concerned, as far as hidden market is concerned, this notion of a bucket list is actually quite important. Okay, it is quite important, right? So please understand this. So as far as a bucket list for companies is concerned, these are the things that I'll go through with you now. Okay, so those are the steps. So let me go through this one by one. So firstly, okay, we want to identify the company. So this is where we need to do some legwork here. So what do? Basically, we have to scan the industry, right? Whether you're going to online, offline, or whether you already know, have somebody in mind, or some industries in mind, or some companies in mind, okay? Then you have to understand whether they are growing, the industry is growing, or the company is growing, all right? Is it a growth segment, okay? You may talk to your network about some possible companies. Maybe you know some people who are working in that company, okay? So get some feel from them, right? Then you start combining that list. Okay, so here I'm suggesting probably a list between 8 to 10 companies. 8 to 10 companies. Okay, anything more than 10 companies actually becomes a little bit, how should I put, unwieldy, because then you have too many to focus on already. So normally I advise my clients to make it more manageable. Right? Some say 5 is enough, fine. But you know, try to do it between 8 to 10. I think that at least gives you a little bit more options. Okay, so look for 8 to 10 companies. So not enough. Once you have that list of companies, then you have to think about the next step already. Okay, what's next? We have to think about why that company excites you. Why that company excites you. Okay, so let's do a little fun activity here. Can you type into the chat box, what are some of the companies that you want to work for? Can you type into the chat box very quickly? What are some of your what do you call it? Target companies or your preferred companies you want to work for? Okay, Shopee, okay, government, Lazada, Google, SATS, Google, Facebook, Shopee. Okay, wow, quite a lot. Okay, good. Okay, Google or Facebook seems to be the common one. Okay, no surprise, they're very brand names here. Okay, then let me ask you, those of you who have picked either Google or Facebook, whoever, why does this company excite you? Why does this company excite you? Small tech startup. Okay. Any other reasons why a company like Google or Facebook will excite you, for those of you who have chosen that? Or somebody mentioned TikTok as well. Why does TikTok excite you? Big company, westernized environment. Okay, fair enough. Famous. Yeah, I mean, that's important to you. Okay. All right. So high tech, high forward thinking. So it's your interest level, it's your passion. Okay, so good. So, you know, so you are able to identify why the company excites you. Very good. Now, still not enough. Next step. Okay, how does this company relate to me? Now you start thinking already, okay? I like that company. I'm very interested in their products. I'm very interested in the industry. But how does that fit in with me? How does that fit in with me? Okay. Is it because maybe the company culture has the same values that I want to go for, or maybe my experience is within the company's operating parameter, okay? Or maybe I'm really interested because what the company represents actually is also my own personal brand, for example. Okay, so here you have to think about this. How does it relate to me? Because if you cannot identify this clearly, then it's actually going to be quite difficult for you to move to the next one, which is how you can help. Okay, so important, try and figure out how this company, how you relate to this company, how do you fit in? Okay, I remember one time one of my clients said, oh, I can relate to this company because most of the people who are working in this company have the same background as me or have the same age group as me, are in the same age group. Okay, so it could be as simple as that. Or another client actually mentioned to me, oh, because I know a lot of friends in there. Yeah, very good. So you're familiar with the people, the way they work. Put that down. Okay, put that down. Okay, so now you have this. So 3 pieces of information now. Then the last one, the next one here is something that's important and which we already did previously. Okay, how can I help? What issues can I solve? So think about this. So the exercise that you did earlier on is not a wasted exercise, right? Now you bring that problem-solving statements and you bring it inside here, right? And try and figure out what can you do to help that company. Okay, so the thing here now is, okay, I'll give you an example. All right, so many years ago, well, now it seems many years ago, pre-pandemic days. Once it's pre-pandemic days, it means it's many years ago already. Okay, a client of mine, okay, who was in the logistics industry. Those of you who've been to my classes will have heard this example, but I mean, nevertheless. And he was in a logistics company, and he wanted to move on, okay? And he found out that Amazon was coming to Singapore to set up a distribution operations, regional distribution operations, logistics. So he's very excited. So I put him through the same process that you see here, okay? And it was really very helpful for him to craft the way he's thinking, okay? So that he's able then to be much clearer about what role can he potentially play. Now, even though because he's in logistics, it was very, very clear to him. Now, the thing here is this: even if he was not in logistics, let me ask you, if a company wants to set up operations in Singapore, okay, what are some of the things they have to go through? What are some of the things they have to go through? All the infrastructure, right? Doing the financial systems, the operating system, the warehousing. So there's a lot of opportunity. So even if you were not in the logistics industry, if you are experienced in setting up operations, if you're experienced in managing a large, rapidly hiring the right people, if you have experience in setting up financial systems, those people would have been in demand by a company like Amazon, for example. Okay, so not necessarily you have to think that you are in the same industry or the same operating area. It could be complementing areas as well that could help. Okay, so what I'm trying to get at here is that you then now need to take the leap from what you did earlier about identifying what your problem-solving skills are, and now putting it down here and saying, how can your skills help your target company? Are we okay? All right. Okay. Now, this next one is theme. Now, some of you may say, oh, what's the point of identifying a theme and all that? Let me tell you this. When you're putting together a list of 8 to 10 companies, at the end of the day, if you look at it carefully, there's going to be a lot of common things that bind them together. It could be maybe the same industry, maybe they're doing the same product category, for example, or they have the same culture, or they may all be like, for example, US MNCs, or they may be all serving a particular customer segment, like maybe they serve the youth segment, or they may serve the baby segment, or whatever. Okay. Now, once you're able to sort of determine what the themes for these companies are, actually, it's actually very easy for you. Next time when another company comes in, it's actually very easy for you to think, hey, is that company possible for me to include in this list as well? Okay, so that's the purpose of doing this. All right. Okay, before I move on, any questions regards to this particular exercise itself? Any questions? Okay, so let me see. I think I saw a comment. Some company may be good on the exterior and entice people to join, but the company culture may not be healthy once you join. Well, LH, and to anybody who thinks that way, very true, which means you have to do your due diligence, right? You have to do your due diligence. So one way is actually when you're doing research, putting together your bucket list, you're talking to people, you're trying to find out what's going on in there. This is part of your due diligence process. So you find out more. Obviously, you can say that, oh, I'm never ever going to find out 100%. Very true. But the more information you know, especially by talking to people inside, which I actually will be talking, elaborating later on, but by talking to people inside, you actually get more information, you get a better feel. Okay? All right. Looks like there's no other questions. So let me move on then. Okay. All right. So the last few slides, okay, how do you talk to people inside? I'm going to address that in the next portion itself, the next section itself. So the last few slides, the last few minutes, basically we went through this process of identifying what your unique selling proposition is, what your value add is, so that you can understand how you help others, how you solve their problems, okay? And then how does this match up with a target company inside? Okay, the target company, what the company that you want to work for. So that is the purpose of what we went through just now. Okay, so let's address this final portion about outreach. Outreach. Okay. Here, we are basically focusing on how we attract opportunities, how we reach out to those target companies that we have identified in the previous section. All right. And again, I want to emphasize this again. You might be sick and tired of me hearing me say this, but I'm just going to say it again and again. It is not about you. It is about how you can help them. Okay. So please remember this. So let's talk about this first part here. How do we attract opportunities? How do we attract opportunities? Okay. So, okay, there's a question from LH. How to counter a situation when your USP is not landing in a career search due to ageism practice? Okay, LH, ageism is another big topic. Maybe I'll try and answer this later on towards at the end when there's a Q&A. Okay, so maybe what you can do is help me answer that, ask that again so that I can address it directly. Okay, but I think in this case, maybe what I'm going to say over the next, especially in this section, may be able to help you understand a bit clearer. But I'll address this in particular later on. Okay, so now for this particular notion of attracting opportunities, I'm essentially looking at talking about building your own personal brand. Now, for those of you who have been to my workshop last week, right, you've sat through 2.5 hours of this, so you probably get a good idea. But I'm just going to, so for today's session, I'm just going to sort of give you a summary of what I discussed in last week's session. But I think the gist here is this: you want to attract opportunities by telling people who you are and what problems you solve. Okay, what problems you solve. All right, so very simple. So, and in today's world, okay, the reality is this. The reality is this. As far as personal branding is concerned, a large portion of how people perceive you, is going to be through your activities, your presence on social media. Okay, whether you like it or not. Okay, so that is a reality here. Okay, so I'm not saying that you must have an active social media presence, but I just want you to be aware and be cognizant of the impact of what you do on social media that would actually impact on how other people see you as far as your personal brand is concerned. Okay, so, employers are risk averse, okay? Which means that most of the time, recruiters, employers, when they're looking at you as a potential candidate, they will do research, okay? They will do research, whether it's over LinkedIn, but they will also search on other platforms like Twitter and Facebook, okay? So that's a reality. In fact, I think I remember some time ago when I conducted this workshop, I had a HR person, a recruiter actually, sat into my session, and she was straight away put up her hands and said, yeah, I totally understand, I totally agree. Yeah, we actually do a lot of research before we actually even call the person in for an interview. Okay, so that's a fact. Okay, so 93% of hiring managers review candidate social profiles before making contact. Okay, that's what I just said earlier. And really at the end of the day, they're trying to see not only your professional experience, but it's also, is there someone they know there's a mutual connection? Okay, because they're risk averse, right? So if you know there is someone in common that you both know, then that the recruiter or the hiring manager can actually then ask that person about you. Okay, and also obviously they look through your previous work and fit. Okay, there was this question from Hilda. If we are not active in social media, then how? Okay, I actually had this particular activity last week in my personal branding where I asked this question, right? If an employer or potential recruiter cannot find you on social media, let me ask you, what do you think the employer or recruiter would be thinking of you if they cannot find you on social media? What is the impression they will get? Can you type into the chat box? What do you think the impression would be? Secretive, hiding something, anything else? Low profile, outdated, private, disconnected from society, backward, not digital savvy. So you notice, all these comments are negative and through no fault of your own. No fault of your own. Okay. So obviously, some of you may say, oh yeah, but then my social media, I'm active, but it's set to private, which is fine. I'm not asking you to open to the public. But what I'm telling you is the reality is that if potential employers cannot find any information about you, they will form an impression already. They will form an impression already. Doesn't matter which platform, it could be Facebook, LinkedIn, or whatever. Right? If they cannot find anything relevant about you, then they'll form an impression. And like what all of you have put down. Okay, most of the time the impressions are negative. So my question here is, do you want to leave it to chance? Do you want them to form the impression for you? Or do you want to manage your own brand outside there? Okay, so now this is not a personal branding workshop because I've done that last week already. But at the end of the day, you have to be conscious of that. Okay, so what I'm saying here is that, better to be able to manage the perception rather than leave it into chance outside there. Okay, obviously you can say that government, okay, Christina says that government employment not favorable if too active on social media. Well, I think the key point here is not whether it's too active, but whether it is relevant or frivolous. Okay, you're right. Maybe some companies, maybe not even government agencies, some companies will tend to look at it and say, hey, is this very frivolous? Okay, so again, impressions. So you have to manage the impression. That's where your personal branding comes in, what you need to do outside. Okay, so at the end of the day, okay, I'm going to focus on LinkedIn. Okay, because that is the platform that most recruiters tend to use. And probably in the general case, it's probably what more relevant to many of you. Okay, now if the industry that you're going for maybe doesn't use LinkedIn that often, my apologies, I can't deal with those. I'm just going to deal with what I think the majority of you would be applicable for here. Okay, so as far as LinkedIn is concerned, a few key things that probably I just want to highlight here. It's not a LinkedIn workshop, by the way, so just some key considerations here. Okay, it's a platform that can help you build brand and help you build reputation. I'll talk a little bit about that later on. Okay, it is also a platform that helps you build relationships because it is a very strong networking platform. But at the end of the day, you got to give them a reason for connecting up with you. Okay, you're going to make it easy for them to help or reach out to you. Okay, so your LinkedIn profiles and all got to have updated contact information. And this one, I also want to sort of I want all of you all to be conscious of this, right? Like I saw some comments in the chat box that, oh, but we say a lot of things on social media, blah, 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 and all that. Yeah, which is fine. Okay. On LinkedIn, especially, if you know that potentially employers look at that, then maybe you want to be a bit more conscious as to how you present yourself on such platforms. Okay. When I say consistent, really means that, if you want to position yourself as, let's say, as somebody who has got strong team and people management skills, then on the LinkedIn profile, or maybe whatever other profiles, platforms that you present yourself, then emphasize on that. Okay, make it very clear. Try not to confuse matters by sort of sharing or doing other things that distract the potential hirer from their impression that you are good in that particular area. That's all I'm saying. Okay. Okay. There was a question. Does potential employer really do a back check with my previous company? Is there a way we can stop previous company leaving back comments from me to potential employer due to some unhappy reason to leave my previous company? Well, the reality here is that potential hirers and employers, they are free to contact your previous employees if they want. All right. But in most cases, employers and hirers, they also know that there are reasons why you left in the first place. So they always, those good people, those good employers and hirers, they usually take the comments from past employers, probably with a pinch of salt, right? But they just want to get a sense first. So that's the positive sign. Okay. What is the difference between connect and follow in LinkedIn? Okay, follow means basically you are following that person, but that person may not have a relationship with you because they are not able to sort of correspond with you, or you're not able to correspond directly with that person. Whereas a connection is actually a stronger link. Okay, yeah, you're right. Some people only follow because maybe they just want to get information from that person rather than developing a relationship with that person. Okay, individual proactively created positive branding on LinkedIn for more than 1 year since out of a job, yet to date still have not been able to land in a career. What could be the root cause? Are we over reliant on LinkedIn as a platform to rebound into workforce, especially between 40 to 60? Okay, LH. Now, personal branding and LinkedIn is only part of the story. There could be a lot of other reasons why maybe you're having difficulty. Now, things like, for example, are you targeting the wrong jobs, for example? I won't say the wrong jobs, but maybe your positioning is not so clear, for example, okay? Or, maybe even in your LinkedIn profile, maybe there are things that could be further improved to sort of reinforce and solidify your own personal branding. So there could be a lot of reasons. I don't have enough information as to what those solutions could be, but I think if you approach a coach, I'm sure he'll be able to help you. If I access a person's LinkedIn, can the person know that? Okay. Now, yes and no. Yes and no. Okay. So if you access a person's LinkedIn profile, okay, if that person is on premium membership, he can actually see who has accessed his profile. That's only if he's on a premium membership. Okay. But then, you can also hide. If you are a premium membership, you can actually hide your presence as well. You can hide. Tell LinkedIn not to show your name when you are looking into somebody else's profile. Okay. All right. Okay. Even you're connected to them, they might wish to talk to you. You talk to them, you have to pay. No, Linda. No, you don't have to pay. All right. Once you're connected with that person, you want to communicate and email to them, you don't have to pay anything. Okay. LinkedIn branding is always a pull factor, which may or may not work. What are some of the proactive outreaches you can recommend? Ajay, I'm going to deal with that after this section. Okay, so I think maybe that's a good segue for me to actually round this off. Okay, so I want to sort of summarize the activities that you need to do in LinkedIn sort of to reinforce your personal branding. Sorry, I think at the end of the day, it's not about, this is not a personal branding workshop, so I'm just going to summarize it. So there are basically two sort of columns of activities categories of activities you need to do. One is defining yourself, and then the other one is marketing yourself on this platform. Okay, so essentially in your profile, okay, in your write-up, you got to use keywords, you got to put down problem-solving statements, you got to highlight what your unique selling propositions are. Okay, so this will tell people what you can do, and once you do it, you can also you are able to have a good marketing of your own brand as well. Okay, building endorsements, building recommendations is also a very good way of telling people who you are and what you do. Okay, so you then, you know, the more recommendations, especially, the better. Recommendations are different from endorsements. Endorsements is very easy for people to just click, right? Recommendations is much more involved because the other party have to write something about you. Okay, so naturally, people who write recommendations about you are people who should know you well. Right? So it should not be an issue for you to approach them. Okay, sorry for bumping into the mic just now. Okay, now joining groups, following your target companies. Remember those companies that you have just you've just pulled out in your bucket list. Okay, joining those companies and then following them will also tell the companies that you might be potentially interested in joining them next time. So LinkedIn has an algorithm. So if you follow a particular company or you follow a particular group, a chat group or industry group, so next time when the hiring manager or recruiter does a search, okay, search for that nature, that role or that company, right, your name will probably be among the first few because you have expressed interest within LinkedIn. And so LinkedIn has the algorithm that pulls it up. Okay. This is something that's very unique to LinkedIn. I think it's probably one of the most powerful weapons that you should be using. Share and contribute knowledge and opinions, okay, on LinkedIn itself. All right. So, you know, now there are various ways to do it. Obviously, ideally, if you can, you write articles. Now, not everybody is so comfortable in writing articles. So the other way is curating. That means pulling together, sharing articles you have seen and giving your opinion. Okay. So those are ways to sort of tell people who you are and what you are good at. All right. Okay. So let me take a look at some of the questions here. How to block current employer to see your activity in LinkedIn? Michelle, I don't think you can. I may be wrong, but I don't think you can. Okay, because LinkedIn is an open platform. All right. So anybody who does a search on a company or a person is able to find out the information that the person has put online. So that's why, you know, at the end of the day, you have to be careful. You have to manage what you put online itself. Okay. Okay, Desmond, your comment about, you know, some companies will create ghost accounts as current staff to put 5-star reviews. Well, I guess there's always the bad hat, the bad apple in the bunch. Okay, so again, here it's good that you are able to find out this information. So again, at the end of the day, it's about doing your legwork and research, right? So that, you know as much as possible. Okay, Jeffrey asks, if I'm connected to the HR of an ABC company in LinkedIn, how to approach that person tactfully to ask her to refer to the job I'm interested in the company? Okay, that's in my next portion after this. So hold on to that. Question from Patrick, the information I post on LinkedIn, is it the same as my resume? Okay, Patrick. Now, you can do that. Okay, you can put, and I've seen a lot of people basically put down in LinkedIn what they have on their resume. But I'm asking you is this, are you wasting space? Okay, LinkedIn has got two portions, right? One is about me, which is right at the top. Then the other one is experience. So many people put down experience. In the experience portion, they usually put down their resume, the work experience and all that, which is fine. But that portion on about me, which is right at the top, okay, why waste the real estate to repeat your resume? Why not put other things in there? Now, I've covered this in my personal branding, but I'm just going to tell you this. That is very valuable real estate. Why don't you put in information about yourself that describes your motivation, your passion, your what you like to do, what problems you have solved. Okay, why do you put that in there? Then that will give the other party, the reader, actually a very good, more rounded impression of you than just your resume itself. Okay, right. So, okay. Time now is 3:30 exactly. Zun zun. Okay, so let's take a break. Let's take a 5-minute break, and then we come back, and then we continue with the second half of this, and then we round off. Okay, so I see you guys in 5 minutes. Okay, welcome back. We still have a few more slides to go. Just want to sort of clarify this. Thank you, Lim Si Hong, for sort of providing the link on how to prevent non-followers from viewing your LinkedIn activities in the chat box, those of you who are interested. Maybe just to clarify what I said just now for Michelle, essentially what I'm saying here is that the information, your profile that you put on, people will see. Okay, and then you can tell maybe certain profile that you don't, certain bits of information, but your information will still be seen. But your activity, whether you're following people, whether you're writing articles and all that, if they are not your followers or whatever, you know, they may not see your activities. That's what I'm trying to get at. Oh, okay, but thank you, Zisong, Sizhong, sorry, for doing that. All right, so the last few minutes before the break, we were talking about pooling, right? Attracting opportunities, right? In other words, and the focus here there I was putting was actually talking about personal branding, all right? How you use personal branding to attract opportunities. So let's look at the other way now, okay? How do we reach out? I think some of you have been asking that, how do we reach out? And here, essentially, what I'm saying here is, how do we build relationships? Okay, how do we build relationships? Okay, so the first part I'm going to talk about here is really maybe just to continue from the thread we have just now on LinkedIn. How do we then use LinkedIn to build relationships? Okay, so essentially, if you look at it through LinkedIn, there's so many different groups of people that we can connect up with, right? So you see here on the left side here, there's just some typical examples, right? So let me ask you, among that list here, which do you think are the easiest people to connect up with first? Can you type in the chat box? Which group of people here do you think would be the easiest for you to connect up with first? Okay, friend, can say friend, colleagues, friends, colleagues. Yeah, okay. So, you know, what's stopping you? If you are not connecting up with your friends or maybe colleagues, what's stopping you from doing that? Okay. So for those of you who say, I don't have a big network and all, start small with your friends, your colleagues, ex-colleagues, some say alumni. Okay, very good. Okay, so start from the easier ones, people you already know. Okay, followed by the rest. Now, I also want to sort of highlight to you all, family, okay? Family is there as well. Actually, sometimes our family may not want to connect out with you on LinkedIn. I know my son, he doesn't want to connect out with me on LinkedIn. All right. So I also want to introduce you to this particular notion of levels. Okay. So that's first level, second level, third level. All right. So it has been shown through research that the most impactful group of people in your network is not your first level of contact. That means first level means the people you know directly, but it's actually the second and the third level that's more impactful. So at the end of the day, is the people who knows other people. Okay, I don't know whether I phrase it correctly, but you get the meaning. The indirect one, the second and third level, are actually the ones that allow you to reach out more. Okay, so that's the concept I need you all to understand first. All right, then another concept here is this. Now, last week when I did this personal branding topic, and then one of the things that I talked about was building relationship and network. And one of the things that jumped out at me was that many people say they are very reluctant to go out and do networking. What do you guys think? Why, if you are in that group, why would you be reluctant to go out and develop your network or even attend a networking event? What do you guys think? For those of you who, you know, are feeling reluctant, lazy, shy, could be lazy or shy. Any other reasons if you don't want to go out and meet new people? Scared COVID, okay, shy, afraid of rejection, inferior, and all that. Yeah. Introvert is a term that I often see being used. Okay, let me tell you this. So just to give comfort to not only the introverts but also to people who maybe generally feel that it's not them. Okay, you are not alone. You're not alone. But the common reason why many people don't like to go out and develop new contacts or new relationships is because many a time they're actually focusing on the wrong thing. Okay, they're focusing on this thing in the red box. So whenever they meet somebody new, right, they straight away think in terms of the red box. Can this person give me a job? Can this person promote me? Can this person give me a solution? Okay, so coming back to one question that one of you asked, how do you connect up with the HR person to go and look for, to do a job in there? Okay, obviously, you know, if the job is already advertised, all right, then the HR would expect people to connect up with them and say they are interested in the job. Okay, however, if you are not, if you're interested in working for that company, but you are not, and the job is not advertised, or you don't know of any openings, connecting, cold calling a HR person, whether it's through LinkedIn or anywhere else, is unlikely to give you a lot of results. They will be polite and tell you, you know, we don't have opportunities now. If we do, we'll keep in touch with you. That's a standard, right? Those of you who work in HR would say that. Okay, so I want you to reel back and think about this. Can you then start looking at how you develop connections within the company in advance, so that when these opportunities come up, right, whether they're in HR or whether these contacts are in HR or in the business part of the operations, then they will tell you, hey, something is coming up in my company. Maybe I can help you apply for that. Doesn't that sound great? Okay, doesn't that sound great, right? In order to do that, your focus on connecting up with people, then it's no longer the item in the red box already, correct? Your focus is on the yellow box. Developing relationship with the other party so that they become your supporter, they give you information, they refer you. Okay, so the keyword here is relationship. Okay, the keyword here is relationship. It is not, I mean, a lot of people think that networking is a 4-letter word. Okay, so I want to sort of move that focus away. All right. Okay, let me see. There's a question from here. Not and papers, agents. So how do we do? I think, Nisha, that's the whole purpose of today's topic. Is really about how we then go in and identify the hidden jobs. Okay, so we build relationships with the person. Okay, LH. Quite often, HR may not be the final decision maker in hiring, and then what then can a job seeker do to interface with the right key decision maker instead of the networking process? Well, LH, you know, if you want to know the person in the hiring process, okay, if you don't do networking, you don't build a relationship with that person directly, the only other way I can think of is to get somebody to refer you to that person, okay, and which is still building relationships. So you can't get away from this notion of building relationships, okay, because those people become your supporter, they become your referrer. All right, so that is one of the strongest way of going, reaching out to opportunities that have not gone to the advertised stage yet. Okay, let me elaborate a bit more. Okay, so before we do this on how we go about contacting the people, I want to address a few myths here. Okay, I want to address a few myths here. Networking myths. Okay, it comes naturally. What do you think? Is networking something that comes naturally? Okay, the question is no. Those of you who say yes, maybe you are mixing it up with another point which I'm going to mention. Okay, but essentially, the way we network is actually a skill. No, it's almost like dancing. It's a social skill, so we can learn and practice it. We can learn and practice it. Okay, so it is something that we can, you know, we can learn during the process. Now, those of you who feel that maybe that comes naturally is maybe because you think of this particular myth. Experts are better networkers. What do you guys think? Oh, extroverts, not experts, extroverts. Well, if you think that networking is all about you talking more than the other person, then you need to correct it. Okay, remember what I said? Okay, yes, somebody who's extrovert can help bridge the first step. In other words, they are brave enough to go out and make the first contact. Okay, but if we focus on relationship building, an extrovert may not be the best person to build a relationship. Why? Why? It is not talking, it's not about talking as much as possible. Okay? Remember, when you're building a relationship, when two persons are building a relationship, do you hear only one party talking all the time? No, right? It's an exchange, right? Okay. In fact, it could be argued that actually introverts are better at relationship building. Why do you think introverts are better at relationship building? Can you all type in the chat box? Why do you think introverts could be better at building relationships? Anyone? You type into the chat box. Think about this. Listen better. They're better listeners, right? They are more empathetic, okay, more sincere. A lot of positives, right? Okay. Introverts are good listeners. They don't mind other people talking. And a lot of people like to talk about themselves, huh? So you'd be surprised. Okay. So, so actually, if you are an introvert, so you are actually in a very good position to build relationship. Okay, that's why I want to focus on this thing about relationship, rather than this notion of networking. Okay, relationship is a focus. Right, the next myth is about knowing as many people as possible. Now, those of you who are going about collecting connections, say, oh, I got 5,000 connections, I got 10,000 connections, I'm very good already, not to worry. Fine, depends on your objective. But I would also argue that actually, what is more important is the depth of the connection, the quality of the connection. Okay, people who know you well, or you know that person well, that is more important. So you may have a very small number of connections in your LinkedIn, for example. Okay, but if those connections are true and sincere and they know you well and you know them well, it is so much more powerful. Remember this notion of second and third level context. Then these people that you know well, they are more willing to support you in referrals. Okay, so hopefully this myth, I debunk the myths about networking. So again, I'm coming back to this again. Sorry to keep repeating this. It is not about you, it is about how you can help them. This is the case when you're building relationships. This is the case when you're going out, getting a job. Okay, so very important. I'm going to show you a video about informational interview. Okay, now those of you who attended my workshop last week, right, I didn't talk too much about it because I said I will talk about this today. Okay, so watch this video and then we can discuss what informational interview is all about.
An informational interview is an amazingly powerful tool. It can help you learn about different types of work you're interested in. And by providing inside perspective, it may even connect you to opportunities you couldn't see from the outside. So let's take a look at what informational interviewing is all about. An informational interview is not a job interview, and it's not a trick you play to get a job. If you're asking for a job and they do have one, then they'll likely start judging whether you're a good fit. And if they don't have one, then that conversation ends there. The key to a successful informational interview is curiosity. With sincere curiosity and good questions about your interviewee's life and experience, you gain insights into their successes and failures, how they got where they are, and what's important to them. Your curiosity will lead to an authentically engaged conversation, which also opens the door for the interviewee to get curious about you. The professional you're speaking with might say something like, "Wow, you're asking some really good questions." And in that transition, informational interviewing becomes even more valuable for someone looking for work. Informational interviews give you an opportunity to see what kinds of work resonate with you and help you determine what communities you would like to be a part of. In a good informational interview, the professional you speak with gets a lot out of the conversation too. They get to discuss their life and their work with someone who's curious about their experience and values their expertise. Plus, they get the pleasure of talking with someone who's genuinely interested in what they do. How do you do it well? Here are 5 tips to get you started. First, do your homework. Take some time to research LinkedIn or other online platforms to learn about the professional you're interviewing. Consider what questions you have about their life and work. The second tip is to try to meet in person. On the phone is okay, but face-to-face is best. 3, always try to buy the coffee or lunch. Your interviewee is giving you their time. Paying is a good way of showing your appreciation and beginning to create a connection. 4, ask your interviewee who else they recommend you talk with. If the interview has gone well, they may be willing to connect you to other professionals you can learn from and who might have opportunities for you. Finally, tip number 5, after the interview, send a thank you. Email is okay, but a handwritten note is even better. And if they ask you to keep them posted on your progress, do so.
Okay, information interview. All right. Now, this is not a new technique. It's been around for many, many years already. Just maybe they call it different things. Correct? So essentially, the information interview is actually a very powerful tool for us when we are trying to unearth opportunities that are not in the public sphere. Okay, so how to get information interview? Let me share with you. Okay, so let me talk about the benefits on information interview first. Right, it helps you develop your network even better. It uncovers hidden opportunities. It reinforces your personal branding, and it allows you to get more information. Okay, so remember that little exercise we did about the bucket list. Okay, so your candidates for information interview should come from the bucket list, itself. Okay, so that's my short answer to that question just now. Okay, so but later I'm going to go through you how you actually prepare for the information interview. All right. Okay, so let's start with something that is easy to do. Informational interview is not something. What is informational interview not? Can someone type into the chat box, what do you think it is not? You saw from the video. An information interview is not a job interview. Okay, very good. It's not a job interview. You just speak to my slides. It is not a job interview. So in other words, when you meet someone during an information interview, it is not about asking for a job. Okay, it is not about asking for a job. It is not about talking about yourself. Okay, in fact, if you do it right, you actually talk less. The other party talks more. Okay, so that is the key thing. But so, at the end of the day, some key points to consider here. Your purpose of doing an information interview really is to create an awareness with the other party. Okay, to get more information. Okay, now so much easier when you have something in common to connect up with. Okay, I'm not saying that if you don't have anything in common, you cannot connect up with that person. But do your legwork. At the end of the day, I don't know whether you're familiar with this notion of we are all separated by a certain degree of separation, right? There's this notion. So if you dig hard enough, you are bound to find something in common with each other. Okay, but you just need to do your homework, right? Don't ask for your job. We said that already. Focus on the other party. So you're asking more questions. I'm going to elaborate more about what those questions could be, right? The whole process of informational interview is about building relationship, it's about building trust. Okay. And lastly, we need to be prepared. Okay. You got to do your legwork, homework rather, not legwork. Legwork also about more on homework. So how do we do the preparations? So let me share this with you. Okay. Firstly, you have to be comfortable with yourself, knowing who you are, what you do, what motivates you, what's your specialty, because that has to be something that you must be prepared to share. Okay, if he asks you especially, right? Then you have to prepare in your mind, how can this informational interview help you? Okay, what is the purpose? Are you going to try to find out more information about the company, or are you trying to find out more information about the role that the person is doing so that you are in a good position to maybe join another company by doing the same role, right? Or are you looking at getting more information about whether the industry is growing or the culture? Some of you mentioned whether you want to find out more about the culture of the company. Okay, so we've got to be very clear about how this interview can help you. Okay, and then this thing here about finding something in common. It could be a common friend, an alumni, you've been to an event before, or maybe even you saw him contribute an article and you you clicked in and say, hey, I saw your article the other day. I really like what you said. I can relate to that. Something as simple as that is also something that is good. Okay. You need to know your interviewee. So you need to sort of do some research. Okay. Some research. Okay. And then you need to prepare questions. Okay. Are we okay so far on this? All right. All right. So my next slide is actually more about how you're going to conduct the informational interview. Okay. Okay, Christina says recruiter calls the interview, but HR says it's a chit chat. Well, at the end of the day, it's about two people connecting, building a connection, right? And basically exchanging information. Yeah, call it what you will. All right, how do we conduct an informational interview? All right, so let me just do this. Firstly, build trust. Okay, so how do we build trust? Essentially, you want to be likable. You cannot be arrogant. You cannot be standoffish. Okay, so you have to be genuinely curious about that person and interested about that person. Okay, so no false pretenses. Okay, don't put up airs and all that. Okay, don't sell so hard. Okay, I think one of the unfortunate drawbacks of some professions, I mean, like insurance salespeople and all that. That's the best example I can think of, is that, you know, sometimes you sell too hard and many people just don't want to talk to you, unfortunately. Sorry if I'm offending any insurance salespeople here, but you know, that is general perception out there because they're selling too much. Okay. Remember, the interview is about them, the other party. Okay. So you have to focus on the other person. Okay. But at the same time, you want to make sure you prepare to be able to share something about yourself and your interests as well, why you're interested in talking to him. Okay. So that's where this part about knowing yourself is very important. Okay. And then finding something in common. Like I said, could be friends in common, it could be the same industry, the same alumni, same event you attended, or you saw the same piece of information online, or he wrote something that you really like, and you can talk about that as well. So you really need to find something to kickstart the conversation. All right. Now, then you have to start talking about, you have to start thinking what sort of questions you should ask. Okay, so the idea here is this. You want to treat that person as an expert. So your questions should be geared towards that, you know, making that person an expert to you. Okay. Eventually, obviously, you know, when the relationship goes on, the idea is that he becomes your mentor, which is great, right? But in the first sitting, just think of him as an expert and you want to tap his brains, their insights. Okay. So what made them successful? Okay. One question that I always like to ask is, if you were me, what do you think I need to do to be as successful as you? Wow, you know, the other person, when they hear that, they really like it. Okay, so ask for their advice, you know, and maybe ask for their recommendation, you know, who do you think I should talk to, or what else do you think I need to do? Other courses do you need I need to take? Okay, so those questions you need to sit down and just list those things down. All right. Okay, sorry for blocking. Okay, while you are talking, while you are assessing, when he's giving you information, now you're assessing, okay, what is the company looking for, or maybe assessing, you know, what are the opportunities within the company, if that is your goal. If that is your goal, okay. If you just getting there to get more information about the industry and all that, then you start thinking, you know, how does this help you? How does the information that he's sharing with you going to help you? Okay, so this is where you start thinking about those things. Then the closing part. Okay, so typically an information interview shouldn't last more than half an hour. Right? If you're lucky and really, you know, conversation is flowing, it may be longer than that, but typically you shouldn't budget for more than half an hour. All right. So obviously you have to thank the person. Then one thing I always like to tell my clients is that at closing, don't make it the end of the conversation, but also ask the person, who else can that person recommend you to talk to? Okay, can they do you have their permission to contact them, or use their name to contact them and all that? Okay, and then the very important thing here is that, you know, follow up after the meeting. Follow up after the meeting. So, you know, like I said, right, building a relationship cannot be an overnight activity. You have to build it over time. So after every informational interview, you always have to follow up, say either maybe a couple of days later, say, thank you, I enjoyed the conversation so much. This is what I learned from you. I'm really excited and by the opportunities within the industry, and I hope to do this. Oh, by the way, I recently came across this article or this set of information. Maybe, you might find it useful in your work. Something like that. So follow up, okay? And continually, even later on, just go back to that person, update that person about your progress in life, okay? So I think that's a very important factor. Let me just put it the other way, okay? So any questions about the informational interview process? Any questions? Now, one thing I must add is that, when you contact a person for an informational interview, if you can't find any commonality or referral to that person, there is a chance that he may not want to talk to you, which is fine. Okay? It's natural. Okay, so don't be downhearted. Just be polite and say thank you so much. I mean, for even considering, I understand you are busy, so I won't bother you. But is there somebody else that you think I could talk to? Maybe they so that person may actually be willing to sort of give you another name. All right. Then you may ask that person and say, oh, is it okay if I use your name as a referral? Yeah. No harm to try and ask, right? Okay. So this, I think, is a very important weapon. This is a very important weapon to find out about hidden opportunities. Okay, so for those of you who are a bit reluctant to do this, yes, you can still find hidden opportunities from your online research and all that, but really at the end of the day, meeting people, developing relationships is such a powerful way of reaching out to others, getting their support, okay, and getting more information about opportunities that are out there before they're advertised. Okay, so that's important. All right, so let me summarize this section. Okay, so really, this session was talking about developing activities to attract hidden opportunities. So you want to be a magnet, you want to reach out. Okay, so that is a focus here. Okay, thank you, Ajay. Okay, Ajay says, I like these approaches. I follow quite a bit of them. It works in the longer run. Seems like slow and steady process. Any recommendations of quick results? Ajay, building relationships is a process. Okay, whether it's slow or fast, depending on how you connect with the person. Okay, so that's why you think activities like this. I would strongly suggest to those of you, to start building your network even before you need a job. That is the best way, right? So, those of you who are comfortable in your job and all that, please don't think that you don't need to build relationship, you don't need to build network. No, you still need to do it, because eventually when the time comes that you need them, they are the persons to help you. Now, for those of you who are already, in the process of needing to find a job, then obviously you want faster results. But I think at the end of the day, let's compare the two. You blindly applying for jobs through advertised portals versus putting the legwork in developing a network and all that. Okay, you're going to have different rates of return, return on investment. Okay, maybe if you're applying to an advertised job where you have prior experience and all that, fine. Okay, but you'll be competing with a lot of other people. So you may get response, but maybe the response may not be positive. However, if you put in the legwork, develop relationships, and they become your referrers and they become your supporters, yes, it takes a bit of time, but maybe the response will be much more stronger and positive. So think about that. All right. So, wow, 405. Okay, let me summarize. Okay, we spent the last couple of hours going through this notion of attacking the hidden job market. All right. So firstly, we talked about the hiring trends. So we wanted to know how employers think and what you need to do. Okay. So the notion here is you want to bridge the gap between how the employer is looking and what you want to do. So how do you convince? And basically we said that, you have to be targeted and customized. You need to know how you help people. You need to be relevant, and you need to develop relationships. Okay. Next section, okay, we talk about what matters to you. We talked about your skills. We talked about how you solve problems, okay? And then we also established this process of collecting data to form your bucket list of companies, okay? So in the process of doing this, okay, you are able to identify your USP, your value add, so that you are better positioned to help you are in a better place to position yourself for that target career or job or that target organization. Okay, so again, the notion here, sorry if I'm repeating this ad nauseum, employees are risk averse, so it's not about you, it's about how you can help them. So please, please, please remember this point. Okay, we have to move away from me focus and to think about the other point of view as well. Okay, so employees are risk averse, be a problem solver. So we went through the process of helping you to craft up problem solving statements using the template. Okay. Then in the last half an hour or so, we talked about how we reach out, how we attract opportunities. And essentially, we basically focus on these two aspects: personal branding, building your own personal brand, and also going out and talking to people through informational interviews. Okay, so at the end, hopefully out of that session, you know at least two simple techniques on how to attract, be a magnet, and how you can reach out to people. Okay. All right, so before I close up for the Q&A session, I think we have a few minutes for that. I just want to give you some tips. So this is my first bonus for you. Since you are staying here until now, it's about, you got 160 people. So some have dropped off, but to reward those of you who stayed on. So essentially, okay, if you look at it, these are maybe unconventional, but I thought it's a good thing to share. Okay, when you're doing your research, instead of focusing on job openings, why not try and identify what are the pain and the problems the company is going through first? Okay, especially when you're doing your bucket list. So once you focus on that, then you're in a position to anticipate what they need. Okay. Then also at the same time, apart from, let's say, full-time jobs, are you able to look at alternative ways of working for that company? Okay, think about that. The other thing here is this. Yes, we like to say what we can do, but is it possible for us to show what we can do? Okay, so maybe certain instances you are able to show a portfolio or examples. So when you're talking to the hirer, or maybe when you're talking during the information interview, it becomes a conversation, becomes very active. So you're showing evidence of what you can do. Okay, now this last point about social proof. Remember what we talked about, just now? Recruiters, employers usually do their research before they actually talk to you. Okay, so the research on social media. So this is where you show your social proof. A tip of the tongue. Okay, so instead of, I know resume is very important. Yes, you're right. But I also would like to add, why don't we then start focusing on showing on the various platforms, the social media platforms, or what we can do, the problems we can solve, so that when employees look for you, they know immediately what you can do. Okay, so using that to nurture connections, when people talk to you, be involved, be responsive. I saw one comment from someone in the chat box about, what if that the person keeps contacting you, is an agency, and he's giving you irrelevant jobs? Well, there are two ways you can respond to that person, right? One is obviously you ignore that person and block that person or whatever, okay? Or the other way is that you say, sorry, these are not the jobs I'm looking for, but but do keep me in mind because I'm actually interested in another type of job. So maybe he will come back to you. Okay, so my recommendation is really not to sort of kick the other person off to the sidewalk, but actually, again, maybe there's an opportunity to develop the relationship. Okay, so these are my 3 tips for today. Okay, all right, so let's do a Q&A. All right, I saw some questions here already, so let me just take a look. So let me just look at the chat box. Okay, so there are a couple of questions, or quite a few questions. Okay, Must the informational interview be conducted via face-to-face or phone call? Is it recommended to go through messages? Okay, the ideal is face-to-face. Ideal is face-to-face. However, in today's world, sometimes maybe people are not so comfortable in face-to-face, right? So a video may also be good. Worst case scenario is do a phone call. Okay, that's the worst case. If you're talking about messages, okay lah, messages not ideal, because you think about this, is that a good way to develop a relationship with somebody through messages? Maybe the younger ones, you say yes, it's possible. But I think generally speaking, it's so much better if you meet the person or you talk to the person and hear the voice, right? So that's the thing. Okay. Know someone who goes for a job interview just to know how much he is worth. Is there a better alternative? I'm not sure what you mean, Han Zihao. Okay, so are you talking about informational interviews? Okay, are you going there just to find out whether your market value is that your objective? Well, I think the key thing here is this: your focus is on the other party, it's not on yourself. Okay, so if you're using the informational interviews to find out what your market worth is, I suggest you sort of have it in the back of your mind. If the conversation comes up, fine, you bring, but that should not be your focal point. Okay. Okay, Clarice, when we talk about strengths, do HR focus more on technical skills? What if we mention only personal strengths, example being empathetic? Will this put us in a losing end? Okay, Clarice. Now, I think this is related to this notion about whether we should highlight hard or soft skills. Now, in the old days, many people will tell you hard skills are better, right? And people say, oh, hard skills are problem-solving skills, blah, 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 and all that. But in reality, when you want to solve a problem, it is actually a mixture of hard and soft skills. So rather than focus on, technical skills or hard skills, I would rather you come from the other angle and say, what can you do to help solve that person's problem? Okay, identify the problem and then use your combination of skills to say, I have these skills that I can solve that problem. So this combination could be hard and soft skills. Okay. Okay, Desmond says, I feel hiring managers look at technical skills while HR will look for soft skills. Well, yes and no, but at the end of the day, it's a combination of skills that matter and how you actually use that combination to help them. Okay, current VUCA environment may result in cautious hiring from employers. What can job seeker do to convince employers the value that we can offer? Do we share our CV across? Okay, LH, this is a very broad question, okay? In a sense that it really depends on what stage you are at in the job search process. Because, if you are developing relationships with the other party and you're going out doing informational interviews and all that, you are already building your support base. You're already building a support base. If you feel that you don't want to do that and you want to cut short the process and just spam your CV out to all the HRs and all that, my strong recommendation is that you don't do that. All right? Because spamming, as you know, spamming is never seen as positive. Okay. What can job seeker do to convince employers the value that we can offer? All right. If you are applying for a job where you have prior experience, then it shouldn't be difficult. Okay. The difficulty comes when you're applying for a job which is not in the industry that you have experience in. So you have to look at, what transferable skills you have as a career switcher. Okay. Okay. I think this is a question from Hilda. How to screen good headhunters from bad ones? Some headhunters just ask our CV after they got it, they disappear. Well, Hilda, I'm sorry to say that there are always bad apples, okay? If you think about it, recruiters and headhunters, they are working for the employer, they're not working for you, okay? So sometimes there are unscrupulous headhunters or recruiters down there where they basically just want to collect up as many CVs as possible so that they can go and impress potential companies to hire, to engage them as recruiters. That's a fact of life. So, sometimes that's why sometimes if let's say a headhunter approaches me, I got to make sure that the headhunter is reputable. I got to make sure that if I do, I got to find out more information about the potential opportunity as well before I actually release any information. Okay. Okay, question here. How to convince a person that we are sincere to come back to workforce after breaking for more than 2 years and willing to take on a lower position that we had before? Okay, Ku Gyat Chin. Again, this is very difficult to do if you are just applying through advertised jobs. Remember what I said? Advertised jobs, a person, when a company looks through hundreds of CVs, they only look for a person who has the right fit, the right experience. So if you do not have the right fit, the right experience, or you have been away for a long time, right? Chances are you will not be called up for interview. That's why I say, your chances of getting opportunities is so much higher as a career switcher, as someone who's been away from the workforce long, is actually this process of identifying hidden jobs. Okay. Yes, it takes more effort, but your return on effort is so much better. Okay. How to handle hobbies question during interview. The person asked me about COVID and why government don't make vaccine compulsory. Actually, she wants to check my consistency and thoughts. This is practical information interview. Well, I don't know. I mean, Chris, at the end of the day, there must be a reason why they ask you that question. Okay. Is it because they want to see your reaction? Because maybe it might be a behavioral question. All right. So they want to see your reaction to that question. Or they may just want to get a sense of your thinking process. Okay. Or they may just want to get to know you as a person outside of work, and how does that person outside of work can contribute or add to the work environment as well. Okay. So it all depends. Okay, if we wish to send an unsolicited CV for purpose of uncovering hidden jobs, do we address it to HR or specific department head? Is a cover or interest letter important? Candy, I suggest, okay, there's nothing to stop you from sending an unsolicited CV, okay? But chances are, it's going to be put aside, okay? Especially if you are sending to someone that don't know you, okay? So the CV sending is really the last process after you have develop a contact within the company. It is not the process you do before you develop the contact. Okay, just think about this. Once you develop a contact within the company, it's so easy for you to then ask that person, hey, is it possible for you to sort of, this is only after you got the relationship with that person, is it possible for you to sort of maybe refer my details to an opening in your company? Yeah, maybe I'll provide you the CV. If the relationship is good, they will do it willingly. And maybe they will even add in a good word for you. Okay. But if you don't know anybody inside there and they just send in an unsolicited CV, and if the job is not advertised, chances are they will not call you. They will just put it one side. Okay, that's a reality. Okay. The other question, any suggested catalyst to expedite a networking process, especially those who are already in chronic unemployment state? Please share insights on ageism as highlighted earlier. How can we counter this discrimination in our networking process? Okay, now, my point about ageism is this. The reality here is that there are companies who will think that way. There are people who will think that way. So my advice to my clients is, instead of knocking your head against the wall with companies that are already behaving like this, why not put your effort into looking out for companies that accept older workers? That's one. Okay, so this is where you have to start doing your research, talking to people, the bucket list and such. Okay, so that's one. Now, the other thing here is this. If you are, how should I put it? If you've gone to the last stage where they call you up for an interview, okay, knowing that you are among the older age group, congratulations, because they see some value in you. So you need to then, when prepare for an interview, anticipate certain questions that they will ask. So, typically, when somebody is asking you, when they have concerns about age, what do you think is behind that thinking, right? It's more about whether you are expecting higher salary, okay? It is more about whether you have the physical stamina. It is more about whether you will stay long, okay? It is more about whether you can adjust to maybe a younger boss or to younger colleagues. It is more about whether you are able to be a member of the team, whether you are flexible and adaptable. Okay, so you have to craft your responses to address those responses. Those questions. Okay. Okay, Chris, how to show your value during salary negotiation? So general question. So, okay, there's a lot written about salary negotiation. But I think my view here is that salary negotiation is something that should only be discussed towards the end of the interview process. Okay, and so if you did your interview process correctly, then the person should already be convinced of what you can do. Okay, so really then that makes the salary negotiation actually quite simple. Okay, I don't have time to actually sort of go through in detail of this, but I think that the gist here is that during the interview process, you need to put an effort to show your value, right? So once it comes to the salary negotiation, then, and obviously also you need to know what the average salary, market salary is for that job itself. Like you have to do your research. Then you have to see whether you want to be average or whatever, but then you have to justify that. Okay. Kindness was my weakness, especially when you witness a friend support from colleagues, and then it creates office politics and eventually will make the office environment pleasant. Is this a common issue or a personality issue? Well, Joey, I don't know enough about you or the companies that you have been working in to say who is at fault. Maybe it's not at fault, maybe it's just a mismatch. Okay, so I think no, we all have a certain personality, and sometimes there are environments that don't suit us. Okay, so that's the reality of life. Okay, so maybe the question here is in your next job or next role, maybe you need to start, finding out more about the type of company, the culture, the people. Okay. Okay. If you have done a similar job but in a different sector, is it considered a risk in a potential employee climate like this, in this climate? Well, Bergkamp, you're Arsenal fan, huh? Okay, so, the risk is only if you cannot convince the person that you can help them. Okay, so you need to think about what are your skills, your transferable skills that puts you in a position to help that problem, solve that problem. So all the things that we talked about earlier on should allow you to do that. I took a career break to be a caregiver. Now I'm ready to go back to the workforce. I mentioned my resume that I took a career break. Well, they're going to bring it up and it's going to be very clear. So I think the challenge here now is when you are taking a career break, what did you do that the employer will find of value? Okay, what sort of experiences or skills do you have? For example, typical, I've seen some people say they took a career break to look after aged parents and all that. Now, what is the skill that you had in terms of looking after aged parents, right? Patience, okay, ability to get on with elderly, so maybe those sort of skills would put you, if you have those sort of skills and you find an environment that allows you to use those skills and demonstrate your skills, highlight it. Okay, so that is just another way of showing what you can do despite being away from work, because even during the gap, you should have done some things, right? And those things, if you can highlight the experiences and how those experiences can help the company, that is a very good way of going about it. Older worker, the pay will be lower. All depends, Linda, all depends. If you can show them that you can value add, right? Sometimes it doesn't mean that it's a lower salary. Yeah? What type of work environment or profession would you recommend for people who are non-political but basically helpful and friendly and kind? Pay is not really a priority compared to job satisfaction. Joey, again, this is something you need to do your research on, because there can be so many companies that have those environments, but there can also be companies that have the opposite environment. You need to do your research, because I can't tell you what is good for you, what type of company is good for you, okay? For people who are looking for work from home jobs, where can they be referred to and what factors to consider? Okay, work from home now is more and more, okay? So maybe you got to, again, it comes down to research. Look at companies who are in activities that actually have a lot of staff that is actually working from home, right? So I think, again, some roles could be like customer service, okay? Phone call answering, account management, where you don't really have to be in office, okay? But you have to do your research to find out. Well, a lot of questions. What can a career switcher do to win this hidden market when he or she does not have the right skill sets, keen to explore change? Okay. Unfortunately, this workshop, this seminar, I can't do too much about career switching. Even though hidden job market is really a very important part of finding to help a career switcher. Let me see, how does not have the right skill set. It's really about how you actually convince the other party. So again, it comes down to, you have skills, are they transferable? And how transferable are they? Can you use those skills to help solve the problem? If not, what skills do you need to learn and be trained in so that you are able to go into the industry to be a problem solver? Okay. Why question raised to you about your weakness during interview? Okay. Okay, I think there's a lot of information out there about how to answer this question about what's your weakness. So I think I mean, it's outside this purview. Let me sort of address those questions that are related directly to this topic first. If I've got time, I'll come back to this. Okay, why does HR ask for a copy of NRIC before second interview? If there's the policy, it's their policy. I think I can't say it's a wrong policy. Yeah. Okay. Can you be overqualified even though you are a career switcher and aware you have to start at a lower level? Again, the question here is this: what do you mean by overqualification? You need to be a bit more precise than this, because overqualification can mean a lot of things. You get a lot of experience, but at the end of the day, when a company tells you you're overqualified, it actually means different things. It may mean that they feel that your salary demand will be too high, or it may mean that they feel that you're going to jump ship after joining them for a short time. Okay, so you have to be able to address those issues. If a retiree wishes to go back to the workforce, what's the recommendation to approaches to adopt? Peter, I think this thing about the hidden job market could be a very good route. But one common factor I found many retirees use is that they may actually join a company that is operating in the field that they have had very good experience in. So that sort of overcomes the hurdle of the lack of experience. Okay, so the only thing then you have to address is the age part. Now, the age part could be, if you're willing to have a lower salary, then I think that also addresses maybe part of your concern. But I think at the end of the day, it's about whether you have the energy level, whether you are able to get on with the workers, the colleagues, whether you're able to get on with the boss who may be younger than you, blah, 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 all those things I mentioned earlier. Okay, employment agency asks for NRIC even before they're selected for interview with the company. NRIC, yeah, Linda, then, if you feel that you're not comfortable with that, then don't give. Okay. Job seeker is willing to step down and lower the expected remuneration, yet still not receiving the job offer. What is your advice? There could be a lot of reasons, LH, why the offer is not given to you. It may not be a salary issue. Okay, it could be other things. Maybe during the interview process, maybe they just found something that was missing. All right, or you are not the only person that interviewed. They interviewed a lot of people, so maybe they found someone who has a better match. Okay, so salary may not be the only issue. Okay, we've gone through quite a lot of stuff. Okay, so thank you so much for the activity. Okay, now it's almost 4:30, so let me round this off. All right, I just want to close this session off and sort of give you another idea. So, okay, so I want to encourage you all to connect up with me on LinkedIn. Okay, so that is my LinkedIn passcode and all that. And also, I have this Facebook page, which is also, I post regularly information about job opportunities and also job search practices on Facebook as well, as also my LinkedIn as well. So I would encourage you all to sort of connect up with me there so that you are also exposed to such tips and insight information. Okay, so if you want, let me just see if I can put in my Facebook page. The LinkedIn information down there, unfortunately, is a picture, so I can't do that. But okay, the QR code is for the Facebook page. So let me just copy that one and put it in the chat box. Okay. Okay, so this is the Facebook in the page. All right, so that's one part. Okay, so hopefully I will see you all there. All right, so the other one here is please go in and fill up the feedback form. Okay, so this is important for WSG to so that they get a sense of your experiences during this workshop. So hopefully, you had a good experience, and that you learned something from today. And in any case, even if you feel that something is missing, I've got another follow-on activity for you as well. Oh, you cannot find my LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is okay. Let me share that LinkedIn again. There, you can see on this screen the LinkedIn ID is there. So why don't you take a look at that? Okay. So my next slide is actually going to show you an opportunity to, it's part of the 2 bonuses that I'm going to show you. Okay, so hopefully, while you're filling this up, I give you a couple of minutes to fill this particular workshop feedback up, and then I'll show you the last 2 bonuses to sort of give you an idea what you can do after today's session. Oh. Okay, let me just copy this the final link here. Okay, so the next one, okay, so hopefully you all got this got this link for the QR code for the feedback. So the next one here is this. Okay, now I know that most of us, when we do workshops for WSG, we are usually only able to do once a month. Now after every workshop, I always get requests from people on topics. Okay, so and usually I don't have the time to do it, but now I'm going to start something. I'm going to sort of start something where maybe I'm going to do workshops like this or topics where I'm going to share it with all your people, every one of you. So if you want to be informed about all future workshops that I'm going to conduct outside of WSG, okay, can you fill up this little survey? The link is in the attachment. Okay, now as a reward for you, if you fill up this survey and tell me what topics you are, I will give you the link to the recording for today's workshop. Is that okay? I know some of you have been asking about the PowerPoint slides and all that. Unfortunately, I can't give you the PowerPoint slides, but I can give you the recording for this workshop. Okay, but in order for me to do that, I need you to fill up this survey, and in that survey, you put in your email address so that then I can send you that video. It'll take me maybe a few days before I get the recording up and running. Okay, because I know sometimes I can be quite slow. Hopefully that's okay with you. Okay. Chris has got a question. When's my next workshop? Will be my, my next workshop is actually, I think, my previous slide. Sorry, it's this one. My next workshop is on March 18th. That's the official WSG workshop, March 18th. It is on coaching yourself to career success. Okay, March 18th. So hopefully I see you there. Okay, but anyway, if you can, right, you want to hear about other workshops outside of WSG, free, by the way, they are free, then let me know by filling up this survey. The link is in the chat box. Okay. Lots of things for you all to do. Okay, this last bonus. Okay, I had a lot of questions about career switching. Now, I did a workshop on this last month. Now, as a direct result of the career switching, I actually came up with an e-course, right? It was based on the workshop I did. It was a full-day workshop. At the same time, there was some more things inside there. So this is a picture of the workshop that I've done, okay? But, at the end of the day, I want to, given that you have attended my workshop before, so I'm willing to give you all a special rate for this, because I think actually when I launched this workshop, a lot of people actually got the special pre-launch rate. But then, once that pre-launch rate was actually over, there were still many people coming back to me, but I can't give them the pre-launch rate. So that's why I came out with this rate, which is still better than the full price, but I can only give it to people who have been with me. So if you're interested, the link is in there as well in the chat box. So you can go into there and then take a look at what the course is all about. The contents are there, and then take a look at that. Okay. So I think there was a question. Will I be repeating my personal branding workshop again in the near future? Michelle, I don't know, because after March, WSG has not come back to me on this. Okay. Now, if you feel that you want to have more information about personal branding and attend another workshop, by all means, Michelle, please fill in the survey form that I just mentioned, put that in, and then maybe after March, I'll let you know as and when I'm doing this. Okay, or maybe I might be even putting together a course as well, just like what I did for this career switching. Okay, so but just keep me informed. I mean, sorry, put it inside there so I can keep you informed rather. Okay, Laura asked how to sign up for the March workshop. Well, it's not open yet. Okay, so it will only open maybe towards the end of February. So if once that is up, it's the same process you did for your for this particular workshop. Okay, so hopefully you get to do that as well. So this chart is basically a summary of all the links and the QR codes. So I think it's maybe just I will leave you with these links itself, and then you know, for those of you now, we still got 120 over people on board. Okay, so any final questions for everyone? Thank you, Peter, for your kind words. Thank you, Edwin. You know, I just felt that this topic is so important that you know, I wanted to give as much as I can given the limited time. All right, but again, you know, if you guys are interested in more information on this, please do connect up with me or go in to the survey, and then so that I can keep you up to date on this. Okay. All right, it is now 4:36. I know I'm overshot my time, so I think I'm going to leave you with a final video. Okay, this video is by Warren Buffett. Okay, it was a speech that he did to graduating students, and I think it was quite an inspirational speech, lah. Okay, so before I say goodbye, I just want to wish everyone, you know, be safe. Okay, and you know, good luck. Have a good day today. Today is a special day. All right, and you know, if I see you in the next session, that's great. You know, if I hear from you on LinkedIn, Facebook group, that'd be good. If you tell me your email address and all that, I'll send you the link to the recording as well as future sessions itself. Okay, so if that's all, then I'll show you this video, and then take care, everyone. All right, thank you so much.
These people have